Head to DeWittDailyNews.com to get the local information you need to know.
From the Heart Media Group newsroom and DeWittDailyNews.com, I'm Ben Hubbard with this expanded morning newscast. Good morning and thanks for being with us. I'm your host today, Ben Hubbard. The news is brought to you by Baum Chevy Buick in Clinton, your Silverado headquarters, as well as Connexus, offering fiber internet in Clinton. Click their icon on DeWittDailyNews.com to find out more. An agreement to supplement funds related to highway engineer projects was discussed at DeWitt County's June Board Meeting. At Thursday night's meeting, Road and Bridge Committee Chair Jamie Prestergaard told his fellow board members that this motion would be an $85,000 addition to an agreement made with WHKS for engineering services. He pointed out that the agreement is already good for up to $85,000 and has no end date, bringing the total to $170,000.
I will make a motion to approve the supplemental professional services agreement. The original agreement was made last July 2025 for them to provide engineering services for up to the amount of $85,000. The original agreement did not have an ending date to it, so this is essentially an extension of this agreement, of the existing agreement, I should say. It does add on $85,000 to the agreement to make the total not to exceed $170,000.
Prestergaard noted that since last July, they have used around $57,000 of the original $85,000 that was agreed upon. With the upcoming Barnett Township overlay project, he feels that more funds need to be agreed on.
As of last week, we had total costs paid to WHKS so far was $57,000 and change, leaving us $27,000 and change on the original agreement. With the Barnett Township overlay project that's coming up, WHKS is doing that engineering oversight on that project, and that'll take up a fair amount of that balance from the original agreement. So this will be doubling, extending the agreement essentially with, again, no ending date.
Board Chair Joe Whitty and Finance Chair Melanie Tilley brought up concerns over the timing of the agreement, stating that it should align more closely with the county's budget season in December.
Yeah, and shouldn't we try to line that with budget timing, right? So that you can get us enough, that's approved for enough to get us to December, right? And then either decide there to extend the contract maybe for a year with a budgeted figure, or if we can hire or whatever. But it seems like we are about halfway through the budget cycle, and we have no guarantee that this is going to last us another year.
Well, I guess I know, Mark, that you have all of these plans and you have all this laid out in regards to what projects that you're going to be doing. So is there any way to determine as to, yes, we're going to need an additional $85,000, or we can get through with the whatever 27, 29 that we have left of that 85 now? But it sounds like that you're utilizing that for one program already, and that it's going to take up the majority of that money. I mean, what's an additional $85,000 going to be, I guess, in regards to projects?
State's Attorney Dan Markwell clarified that with the extra roughly $27,000 that is left, on top of the additional $15,000 that was budgeted by the county, they could make it through with a supplemental agreement to get them to December.
Well, I mean, it sounds like the agreement was for up to $85,000, but you're budgeted up to $100,000. Mm-hmm. So if you get through that $85,000 and you think you can finish things out, you may be able to do it with that $15,000. You can do a supplemental agreement for an additional $15,000 to get you through the end of this fiscal year, and then start with a new agreement come December 1.
I think
that might get you close.
I think that's how it should go. I think we need to get it closer to our budget year.
Right.
Plus, then I think we also need to kind of have in mind as to, yes, I think this program, whatever the next step is in your plan, you should know how much money approximately it's going to take to do that.
The board asked County Engineer Mark Mathan to come back with a rough estimate of the funds needed to get through the rest of the fiscal year and tabled the discussion until next month.
Can we table this if we've got enough to get us through to next month, and then maybe do an addendum to get us to the end of the fiscal year? And then start off with a new contract or a new agreement for fiscal year 27?
But are we asking Mark to come back with also a list of projects for the rest of the year?
Yeah.
Are we gonna ask him that so he can bring the information back so we're not asking this again?
Right, that's fine.
The way it's set up is that I assign a task order and say, you know, I need this work done. And then the work goes incrementally, discussing it as it goes. So I don't necessarily know exactly what I'm going to say, hey, I need a hand, this is the next item that we need. I would struggle to come up with a specific this item that are gonna take 20, 10, and 4 hours apiece.
Can we at least get a figure though, and maybe what you expect over the next 4 months to get us to the end of the fiscal year?
Yeah.
And
Let's try that.
Yeah, and that's why it was set up with the not to exceed.
Also, during the road and bridge portion of the meeting, the board approved a motion to increase the local share of the total cost of the Revere Road project. Mathan notes this was due to the original number being based on an estimate that was too low. Coming up shortly on this expanded newscast, U of I Extension nutrition educator promoting food safety during power outages. Severe storms and threats of tornadoes rolled through DeWitt County on Wednesday. DeWitt County Emergency Management Agency Coordinator Will Pavlik told the Hart Media Group that an earlier round of severe storms in the area paved the way for a second, stronger system to come through.
We were briefed, 3 or 4 days out in advance that this was going to be kind of a big storm system moving in. And actually, we had gotten some guidance that there was going to be 2 potential rounds. And so there was a system that kind of came in around the 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock hour that, was projected to bring some heavier winds and stuff like that. Fortunately, we got off with really kind of just a lot of heavy rain with that system. And so it kind of, brought the atmosphere to a certain point to where, it kind of set up potential for some craziness with the second round. And then obviously that came in, around the 3, 4 o'clock hour, for the most part for us. And we were kind of the northern boundary for that warm front, essentially. And so everything kind of shifted south after that first wave came in. And so we were under a couple severe thunderstorm warnings. We did have a couple tornado warnings as well for the southern part of the county for the most part. And so, it was a very hectic day, eventful. We had, briefings pretty much at the top of the hour with national weather. And we're just trying to stay as informed as we could with the information that they were seeing from the system that was rolling through.
According to Pavlik, the systems consisted of discrete supercells that had potential to cause EF3 tornadoes and winds of 90 miles per hour or more. He says the county was not impacted as badly as it could have been and faced only a handful of downed trees and power lines.
And ended up creating a lot of discrete supercells. That was what we were obviously being told in advance, was having those in the back of our head and knowing how much damage they could cause. Obviously, not every area was going to get hit the same, but those could cause a lot of damage. And, we were seeing the potential for EF3 tornadoes, very severe wind, 80, 90 miles an hour, even greater at some points. And all that was projected. Thankfully for us here in DeWitt County, we didn't see a whole lot of impacts. Structurally, there wasn't much. There was a couple houses that we had pointed out around the county that had some damage. But for the most part for us, it was a lot of trees down, power lines down. That created a couple road closures. So we were very fortunate. Unfortunately, some areas south of us got hit a lot harder. The Coles County, Effingham County areas both were hit pretty hard. And so, we just continue to think of them and pray for them as they go through the recovery process and, obviously helping them with anything that they need.
Pavlik emphasizes that downed trees and especially downed power lines can be extremely dangerous and should be reported to the authorities immediately. He notes that these storms are often times of high volume for calls, and hazards will be addressed as quickly as possible by the appropriate entity.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first of all, down power lines, a lot of people may or may not know this, but you never want to go near down power line. You don't know if it's energized still. And obviously if there is energy still flowing through that, it could cause a lot of potential harm to the individual if they get too close. So you never want to go down a power line that's on the ground, even if you think it may not be energized. And then, calling Ameren, Corn Belt, any of these utility companies, making sure they're aware of the situation so that they can get to it as quickly as they can. Obviously, in these situations, they're potentially going to be very overwhelmed because it was, statewide impacts essentially, or Central Illinois down impacts. And so they're going to get to it as quick as they can. But as long as they are aware of it, they'll mark it and making sure that they address it in a timely fashion. Trees in the road, obviously making sure you call it into the dispatch center. Having it be reported just so that somebody can be addressing it for putting blockades, barricades, anything like that in front of it so that they can address that and remove that tree in a timely fashion if they can. Obviously, if there's a lot of trees down, it's going to take some time potentially for some. But again, the biggest thing is just to report it, making sure that, the first responders, public safety, highway, IDOT, any of those agencies are aware that there is debris in the road just so that they can try and move it as quick as possible.
Staying alert and informed is one of the most important things when facing severe weather, and Pavlik encourages having two methods to do so. He says having a plan in the event of severe weather is also critically important.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, just being alert is huge. And, I push this on our Facebook page a lot, but just making sure you have multiple ways to be warned. A lot of people are very reliant on the outdoor warning sirens, the tornado sirens, which obviously is a method, but making sure you are also paying attention to, your weather apps, even news stations, NOAA weather radios. If you have those are the best kind of methods in my eyes for being able to be alert for weather related information. And just, again, being vigilant, having a safety plan at home, knowing where, you're supposed to shelter during a tornado or even a severe thunderstorm warning with heavy winds, whether that's a basement, an interior room that has no windows, or even knowing, shelters that maybe aren't in your home, but if you're on the road, being able to know where to go and just finding that safety so where you're not out into the elements and potentially cause harm to yourself and to others. So really just making sure that you're checking in on your neighbors, knowing your safety plan, your neighbor's safety plan, and just, again, being alert, being aware of what's going on and not being unaware of any of the potential impacts that are to come through the day. We try to push information from our page. Obviously the weather apps, National Weather Service, they're pushing information out as well. So just being informed, being vigilant, staying aware of all those things is critically important.
Learn more about the DeWitt County Emergency Management Agency and find severe weather and emergency updates on their Facebook page. You're listening to the WHOW Morning Show. Let's take a quick break with a word from our sponsor.
Looking for a new Silverado? This is Scott Baum from Baum Chevrolet Buick here in Clinton. We have a good selection of new Silverado inventory. We have Silverados in 1500s, 2500s, and 3500s with several trim levels, custom, LT, RST, LTZ, and yes, even high countries. All our inventory is priced for our summer savings season. Baum Chevrolet Buick. Together, let's drive. BaumChevroletBuick.com right from the start.
It's the quiet moments you count on. A call that connects instantly, a show that never buffers, a home that just works. That's the difference with Connexus Fiber Internet. We built a buried fiber network designed for consistency, earning us the title of top-rated fiber internet provider in Illinois. With plans starting as low as $25 a month and 3-year price lock options, it's reliability you can feel without the unpredictability. Because with Connexus, connection means everything. Experience better at Connexus.com. Nothing connects us like Connexus.
News time is 23 minutes after the top of the hour. You're listening to the WHOW Morning Show. After some nasty weather left several central Illinois communities without power on Wednesday evening, a University of Illinois Extension nutrition educator is highlighting preserving food through a loss of power. On the WHOW Morning Show Wednesday, Caitlin Mellendorf, nutrition educator with the University of Illinois Extension in DeWitt, Macon, and Piatt counties, told the Heart Media Group when the power goes out, the primary objective is to maintain thermal boundaries by keeping refrigerator and freezer doors completely closed.
If your power goes out, you probably have some stuff in your freezers and your refrigerators. And the goal is to, as much as you can, just leave them alone. Don't try to open them. Don't try to get, foods. I know some people will try to do like the quick grab of like, I'm going to open the refrigerator as fast as I can and grab something and come out. Every time we open that door to your refrigerator, your freezer, or if you've got like a chest type freezer and you lift that lid, you're letting out that cold air, and until the power comes back on, that food is just going to continue to warm up. And so from a food safety perspective, we know that some of those foods might get too warm to a point where bacteria and other organisms that are already in your foods, that while they're cold, whether refrigerated or frozen, those organisms are pretty much not doing anything. And then as the power stays off, the longer that stays off, the warmer that food gets, and those bacteria may start to kind of go, okay, well, you know what? It's warming up. There's some food here. I might just start to nibble on this, and I'm going to grow and divide. And so during a power outage, as best you can, keep your doors closed for your refrigerators and freezers.
According to Mellendorf, a refrigerator will hold a safe storage temperature for roughly 4 hours if left unopened. A fully stocked freezer can preserve food for approximately 2 days, while a half-full freezer drops that safety window to a single day.
Generally, a refrigerator is going to hold proper temperature for about 4 hours. So like for our household, we were just right at that last little, couple minutes of cutoff. A full freezer, so like fully stacked and stuffed full, you'll get about 2 days out of that. So if you are without power for a longer period of time, your frozen foods, if it's your freezer is pretty stuffed full, you'll get about 2 days on that of staying cold in a safe way. If your freezer is about half full, you're going to get about 1 day before that food is going to warm up enough where things like, well, one, the quality, which we can talk about separately, but the foods would be safe to, once that power comes back on, let your refrigerator and freezer run for maybe an hour, and then you can start working on, cooking or whatever it is you want to do now that you have power back.
If internal temperatures rise to 45 or 50 degrees or warmer, the risk of foodborne illness increases significantly. Mellendorf notes perishable items like raw or uncooked meats, prepared leftovers, milk, cream cheese, feta cheese, and other soft cheeses, and active baking batters or cookie dough must be discarded to ensure safety.
But the question I get is those longer term power outages. Like what do we do? What do we throw out? What do we need to, or what can we save? Because of course we don't want to have to throw things out if we don't have to. So the foods that would be unsafe, like if your refrigerator, when you open it, power comes back on, if you have a refrigerator thermometer in your refrigerator, which is a great thing to have, if it's at 41 degrees Fahrenheit, or colder, okay, everything in your fridge has stayed cold enough. But if you notice that it's starting to creep up, it's at 45 Fahrenheit, 50 or warmer, then it's a pretty good observation that your foods have been warm for quite a while. And so it's probably best to start throwing out those perishable things. So perishable things would be raw and uncooked meats, leftover food. So if you had a little bit of chili left over from a previous meal, that's probably going to be too warm. Milks, some softer cheeses, so cream cheese, feta cheese, any type of like batter. So if you had maybe cookie dough that you had mixed up prior and you wanted to make cookies later, that's going to be something you should throw out.
Strategies like utilizing block ice or commercial dry ice within freezers to mimic historical icebox designs can help extend the safe storage life of frozen products until the grid is restored.
So certainly don't go out while there's bad weather, but once the weather's calmed down, going to maybe your local gas station and grabbing a couple bags of ice and using some coolers to keep those foods extra cold. That's a great option. If you have freezer packs that have been able to, maybe you stored them in that ice with the other things, that's a great way to help keep things cool for the temporary time. Some places might sell like even dry ice or ice blocks that you might be able to, like old school, like this is like my grandma talking about the ice box, the ice chest, like literally was that, right? The big old block of ice that kept that food cold. So we can go really old school for keeping that keeping those foods cold or maybe frozen. Yeah, that'd be a great option if you have access to it, for sure. But definitely don't go out right when the weather is terrible. But as it's safe to do so, then certainly that's a great option if you've got.
Mellendorf had a sourdough course at the Warner Library from Wednesday get postponed to July. We'll have more on that course series over the weekend at the Hart Media Group. Get news anytime at DeWittDailyNews.com.
For SRN News, I'm Rich Thomason in Washington. Not so fast on those U.S.-Iran talks. Originally scheduled to start today, they have been postponed as Israel's military continues hammering Iran ally Hezbollah in Lebanon. War Secretary Hegseth giving America's European allies a homework assignment, urging them to take more responsibility for their own security. This as the Pentagon reviews U.S. troop deployments in Europe. Parts of the Gulf Coast are under flood warnings. Southern Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama are all in the bullseye as the remnants of Tropical Storm Arthur drop flooding rains and generate fierce winds. Buildings have been damaged, trees and power lines are down. Georgia and the Florida Panhandle could be next in line. And the U.S. military has attacked another alleged drug smuggling boat in the Eastern Pacific. 3 people on board that vessel were killed. More details, srnnews.com.
Hi, everyone. If you've been injured in an accident that was not your fault, listen up. We have legal professionals standing by to answer your questions for free. Call now and find out if you have a case and how much it's potentially worth. Call 800-550-7800. I'm here with spokesman John Wolf. So, John, tell everyone listening who should call right now.
Well, Maria, first off, thank you for having me here. It's always nice to answer the listeners' questions. Now, as far as who should call in, anyone who's been injured in an accident and think you deserve compensation, give us a call right now. 800-550-7800. You'll find out if you have a case and how much it's potentially worth.
Thanks, John. You heard it, folks. Take advantage of this opportunity and call now. 800-550-7800.
Advertisement sponsored by Legal Help Center. May not be available in all states. Not available in California.
From the Hart Media Group Sports Desk, IL Sports Wire, and DeWittDailyNews.com, I'm Ben Hubbard with this local sports report. In a game heard on WHOW, Andrew Benintendi launched a pinch hit grand slam off Camilo Doval in the 8th inning Thursday night, and the Chicago White Sox ended a 9-game losing streak at Yankee Stadium with a 5-1 victory over New York.
It ends at 9. After dropping 9 straight games at Yankee Stadium dating back to 2023, the White Sox put an end to that skid in grand fashion.
They're back in the middle for 2. Benintendi with a fly ball out into right. It's a grand slam. And I got a story for you, partner.
A pinch hit grand slam by Andrew Benintendi to break a 1-1 tie in the top of the 8th to propel the Sox back into first place in the American League Central. Sox start a big division showdown Friday night in Detroit against the reigning back-to-back Cy Young Award winner, Tarek Skubal. I'm Jeff Meller, and I'll have your pregame coverage starting at 5 p.m. on the ESPN 1000 Hard Rock Casino White Sox Network.
The Sox kick off a 3-game series with the Detroit Tigers tonight. Pregame starts at 5 p.m. on WHOW. Bobby Witt Jr. hit the first of Kansas City's 3 home runs before leaving with a sore right knee. And the Kansas City Royals smacked a club record 5 doubles in a 6-run second inning Thursday night on the way to a 14-6 victory over the St. Louis Cardinals. Jack Caglione and Salvador Perez also went deep for the Royals, who set season highs for runs and hits with 17. Each of the first 8 batters in the starting lineup had at least one RBI. Witt homered in the first inning and delivered an RBI single in the second, but he was lifted for a pinch hitter in the fourth after making a sliding stop at shortstop in the top of the inning. The 2-time All-Star was shaken up on the play and got checked out on the field by an athletic trainer. Kansas City took a 7-2 lead in the second on the strength of 5 doubles, a team record for one inning. Carter Jensen, Isaac Collins, Lane Thomas, and Starling Marty all each had an RBI double. Perez led off with a 2-bagger. Caglione hit a 2-run shot to left center in the fourth for his 9th homer this season. Nick Lofton doubled in 2 more runs. Perez added his 10th home run in the 6th. It was his 137th at Kauffman Stadium, most in the ballpark's history. Royal starter Noah Cameron is 4-4 and threw 108 pitches in 5 innings. He gave up 4 runs, 3 earned, and 8 hits. Matthew Liberatore is 3-4 and was charged with 7 runs, 5 earned, and 7 hits in 1 2/3 innings. Right-hander Seth Lugo is 2-4 with a 3.86 ERA and returns to the Royals' rotation Friday after spending the required 7 days on the concussion injured list. He was hit in the head by a line drive last week. Right-hander Michael McGreevy pitches for the Cardinals in the second game of the series. In scores from around the MLB yesterday, the Toronto Blue Jays beat the Boston Red Sox 4-3, while the Cleveland Guardians beat the Milwaukee Brewers 4-2. The Minnesota Twins took down the Texas Rangers 9-3, while the Seattle Mariners shut out the Baltimore Orioles 3-0. The New York Mets beat the Philadelphia Phillies 6-4, and the Athletics shut out the Los Angeles Angels 5-0. The Illinois High School Association, or IHSA, Board of Directors met for its regularly scheduled meeting at the IHSA office in Bloomington on Monday, June 15th, where the board finalized expectations for the 35-second shot clock, which will be required for varsity boys and girls basketball contests beginning with the 2026-27 IHSA season. The board voted to accept the recommendation of the IHSA Basketball Advisory Committee by adding State Association Adoption 4, which reads a school may not host a varsity contest if a shot clock is not installed or is not properly mounted on the backboard in a primary gym in accordance with NFHS rules. The host school must secure an alternate facility or allow the opponent to host the contest. If the host school is unable to secure a gym with functioning shot clocks and the opposing school cannot host, the game shall be forfeited by the home team. The shot clock is optional for lower level games like junior varsity, sophomore, and freshman games. The board allowed for experimental use of the shot clock in 2022 and 2023 and the 2023-24 season, providing teams with the option to use it in tournaments and shootouts. In June of 2024, the IHSA board voted to implement a 35-second shot clock for all varsity games, beginning with the 2026-27 season, in order to provide schools with time to plan and install the devices. At the same meeting, the board made the shot clock an option for regular season games in the 24-25 and 25-26 seasons when mutually agreed upon by the competing teams. A statewide survey of high school coaches in Illinois conducted by the Illinois Basketball Coaches Association, or IBCA, in 2020 revealed that 75% of boys head coaches in the state supported the implementation of the shot clock, while 68% of the girls coaches who responded were in favor. The 41-year-old Tiago Splitter was formally introduced on Wednesday as the 25th coach in Bulls franchise history. He brings a wealth of experience that includes 7 years in the NBA as a player and a challenging season as the interim head coach of the Portland Trailblazers. The addition of Splitter is the team's most significant move since Bryson Graham took over as executive vice president of basketball operations on May 4th. The 6'11" Splitter emerged from a crowded field of candidates that reportedly included Minnesota Timberwolves assistant Micah Nori, Atlanta Hawks assistant Ryan Schmidt, and Wes Unseld Jr., who was on Chicago's coaching staff last season. While describing why Splitter was the choice, Graham praised the coach's competitiveness and his ability to connect with players. Splitter joined Chauncey Billups' staff in Portland last June. He was elevated from assistant to interim coach when Billups was arrested in October in a federal takedown of a sprawling gambling operation. Billups has pleaded not guilty to charges of wire fraud and money laundering. Splitter coached Portland to a 42-40 record and a 5-game loss to San Antonio in the first round of the playoffs. It was the first playoff appearance and the first time the Trailblazers finished with a winning record since 2020-2021. Splitter spent time with San Antonio, Atlanta, and Philadelphia during his playing career. He was selected by the Spurs in the first round of the 2007 draft, and he helped the team win an NBA title in 2014. He worked for Brooklyn for 5 seasons from 2018 to 2023 as a pro scout and then an assistant coach. He was an assistant for Houston for 1 year before coaching Paris Basketball Club to a French Cup championship during the 2024-25 season. Splitter is replacing Billy Donovan, who resigned after 6 seasons. The Bulls had conversations with Donovan about returning, but he decided to step aside rather than work with a new front office. Chicago allowed 121.5 points per game this season, ranking 28th overall in the NBA. It finished with a 31-51 record while missing the playoffs for the 4th straight year. The Bulls pick number 4 and number 15 in next week's draft, and they also have plenty of salary cap space going into free agency. Leading the U.S. Open as of Friday is Wyndham Clark, who is 6 under par. In second place is Dustin Johnson, Matt Fitzpatrick, Gary Wood, all 3 under par. And tied for 5th place, Sam Stevens, John Ram, Max McGreevy, Ben Coles. And tied for 9th is Ben Coles, Corey Connors, and Rory McIlroy, Max Geiserman, Benjamin James, Brian Harmon, and Ludwig Adberg. Get highlights of your local high school program by finding IL SportsWire on your preferred social media platforms, and get local sports anytime at DeWittDailyNews.com.
This is staff meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki with your regional radio forecast. Mainly sunny skies today with a high of 78. Northwest winds 8 to 15 miles per hour. Partly cloudy tonight, slight chance of rain showers, lows of a low around 61. Slight chance for showers tomorrow, daytime highs approaching 80, sunshine mixed with clouds at times. Hear weather twice an hour or online anytime at DeWittDailyNews.com. Right now, it's 63 degrees.
Let's check Ag News on the RFD Radio Network. I'm DeLois Yonke. The Farm Doc team at the University of Illinois had a piece last week called Agricultural Credit Conditions in Illinois, First Quarter 2026, using information from both the Chicago Fed and the St. Louis Fed. The Chicago Fed covers more than the top half of the state.